let's talk. You were kind of talking about before the show. I want to talk a little bit now. Is
Okay.
tax on tip, because there's some questions as to whether or not it's per taxpayer or per tax return, which makes a big difference, right?
This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now with local real estate expert Harvey Blankfeld.
Right. So
The one BBB passed a rule change on this, right?
Yeah, the one big beautiful bill, the one that passed on July 4th,
Right.
4th of July bill. So there's a $25,000 tip exclusion for so they've already identified the industries and
Okay.
the job positions. You know, there's the NAICS codes that
Right.
You know, those guys who whatever those.
So if they're normally a tip profession, they're going to get this credit.
They're already identified by the IRS as in a tip profession.
Okay.
Bam, you're ready to go. There's a $25,000 exclusion for tips.
Okay.
Income, you know, and it starts in 2025. It's this year. They're going to be doing it this year.
Okay.
And there's a little bit of controversy about whether or not there's the exclusion applies per taxpayer or per tax return.
Okay.
And the distinction there is big, because if it's a married filing joint couple and one of them's a bellman and one of them's a cocktail waitress, or they're a server, you know, they might both have that $25,000, over $25,000 of tipped income.
Right.
But on a married filing joint tax return, they can only shelter $25,000 from taxability.
Right.
Whereas, you know, the cocktail server's friend who might be the bartender or the bar back at the bar she serves out of might be single, and he's able to exclude a full $25,000 from his just by being a single taxpayer. So
Wow.
they're not sure if it's ostensibly it seems like the married filing joint couple both having the tips over $25,000 ought to be able to exclude it individually.
Indeed.
Together, you know, so
Right.
have a $50,000 exclusion.
Right.
But we've
But
got
that needs to be clarified.
the IRS is in the process of writing the regulations and writing
Sure.
the requirements, and so some of their initial publishings made it look like one way. Yeah, I've searched the internet and I get answers both ways.
Really?
Still.
Okay.
And so and certainly AI will give it to you both ways too.
Of course.
And so
AI doesn't know.
Yeah. So and it's not resolved yet. I've got an attorney friend who works closely with the culinary union.
Okay.
He's got some. He sent in a request to Jackie Rosen's office, and she didn't really have any information to give him, but I think he thinks there's a good possibility that Catherine Cortez Masso's office is
They're going to help him out.
some definitive information
Okay.
that they can operate from, because certainly the culinary union, it's a big deal to all of them, because
Of course.
everybody in the culinary union
votes.
They're all tipped.
and they're all substantially affected by this
Right.
regulation, and
Right.
if they're there's families with multiple spouses each having a tip position, that kind of thing. It's
So, Todd, I'm going to ask you kind of a weird question. If it just doesn't get resolved before you start filing taxes, how are you going to handle it? How would you handle it for clients like that?
Okay. So the way the approach you take is the most conservative approach, because you don't want to
You don't want to expose them to interest and penalties. You don't want to expose them to that. So you would take the safer approach.
Yeah, you don't want to put your tax return doesn't want to be part of the charge of the light brigade going in to get demolished.
The good news is that once it's clarified and it's found out it's the other way around, you can get them that money back later.
Yeah, then they'll revert it back and get it back to you. But if you've taken a position and then the IRS doesn't uphold it, then you're on the hook. And you've got a refund or something that you've got to pay back.
Gotcha.
Maybe some penalties, interest on it. None of that's
And
none of that.
you don't want any of that. No, you don't want the IRS chasing you.